My name is Robert, and for 34 years I worked as a manufacturing supervisor at a mid-sized plant outside Columbus. I wasn't wealthy, but I was careful. I saved. I planned. Every paycheck, I put aside what I could. When my wife, Linda, passed 6 years ago from complications after surgery, I promised myself I'd honor her memory by taking care of our only child, Michael. That's what parents do. That's what we'd always done. Linda and I had built our lives around making sure Michael had opportunities we never had. We wanted him to reach higher, go further, achieve more. Michael had always been ambitious. Even as a boy, he wanted the best grades, the best college, the best career. He'd sit at our kitchen table with his textbooks spread out, refusing to settle for anything less than perfect scores. I was proud of that. I saw myself in him, that same hunger to prove something, to build something meaningful. After Linda died, I doubled down on that promise. The house felt empty without her. The silence in the evenings pressed against my ears. Supporting Michael gave me purpose. It gave me a reason to keep going.
I refinanced the house to help him through business school. The mortgage had been nearly paid off, but I took out a new loan, one that would stretch into my retirement years. Michael assured me it was worth it. "Dad, this degree is an investment," he said over the phone during his first semester. "I'm going to build something incredible. You'll see." I believed him. Why wouldn't I? He was my son. I covered his wedding expenses when he married Vanessa 3 years after Linda's death. Vanessa came from a different world than ours. Her father owned commercial real estate. Her mother sat on charity boards. Their engagement party was at a country club I'd only ever driven past. When Michael told me the wedding budget, I felt my stomach drop. $50,000. But he looked at me with those hopeful eyes and said, "Dad, Vanessa's family is expecting something nice. I can't let her down." So I took out another loan. I cashed in bonds Linda and I had been saving for decades. I made it happen. When he finally launched his own company 3 years ago, I was the first investor. $340,000, the bulk of my retirement savings, and the equity I'd built in the house over 30 years of mortgage payments. It was everything Linda and I had worked for. But Michael needed it. He had a business plan, projections, a vision for building a marketing consultancy that would revolutionize how small businesses approached digital strategy. "Dad, this is going to change our lives," he said, sitting across from me at my kitchen table with spreadsheets and charts spread out between us. "I need seed capital. The banks won't touch a startup without collateral I don't have. But if you believe in me, if you invest, we can make this happen together." He promised me a stake in the company. He promised me respect. He promised me I'd always have a seat at his table, not just as his father, but as a partner in his success. His eyes were bright with possibility that day. I saw the little boy who'd studied so hard at that same kitchen table. I saw Linda's smile in his face. I signed the papers his lawyer had drawn up. I didn't read them as carefully as I should have. I trusted my son. I believed him. Then came Thanksgiving 2023. The invitation arrived by mail, a heavy cream cardstock with embossed gold lettering. "Michael and Vanessa Harrington request the pleasure of your company for a formal Thanksgiving celebration." There was a dress code, a start time, a note at the bottom. "Seating is assigned. Please arrive promptly." It felt more like a wedding invitation than a family dinner. But I told myself Vanessa probably wanted everything to be special. I ironed my best shirt. I polished my shoes. I spent the morning before baking Linda's pecan pie, the one she used to make every Thanksgiving, with pecans we'd buy from the farmer's market and bourbon I'd keep in the back of the cabinet just for that recipe. I arrived early, carrying the pie in a glass dish wrapped in a kitchen towel to keep it warm. The house was even more impressive in person. A circular driveway, manicured hedges, a fountain in the front yard. Vanessa opened the door in a silk blouse and heels, her hair swept up, her makeup perfect. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Robert, you're here. Come in." Inside, the house gleamed. marble floors that clicked under my shoes, a chandelier over the dining room that must have cost more than my first car. 11 tables draped in ivory linen, each set for 6 or 8 people. Place cards in calligraphy sat at every seat, fresh flowers in crystal vases. Vanessa's parents at table 1, positioned near the fireplace where everyone could see them. Her siblings and their families at tables 2, 3, and 4. Michael's colleagues and business partners filled the rest. People in expensive suits and designer dresses. People who looked like they belonged in magazines. Then I saw table 12, a folding card table, the cheap kind you buy at discount stores, wedged between the kitchen door and a hallway leading to the bathrooms. 2 chairs with thin padding, paper plates, plastic utensils, no flowers, no linen, a small paper tent with the number 12 written in marker, not calligraphy. It was the kind of table you'd set up for kids at a wedding, an afterthought tucked away so it wouldn't ruin the aesthetic.
"That's you," Vanessa said lightly, gesturing with a wine glass. "We had to improvise seating, you understand." She said it like it was nothing, like seating your father-in-law at a card table in the corner while your family sat at tables fit for royalty was just a minor logistical decision. I stood there, holding Linda's pie, feeling the weight of it in my hands. Michael appeared from the kitchen, his face flushed from the heat of cooking, or maybe from wine. He wore a tailored vest and a crisp white shirt. He looked successful. He looked like someone who belonged in this house, with these people. He wouldn't meet my eyes. I set the pie down on the counter, carefully, next to a row of store-bought desserts, still in their plastic containers. I sat at table 12 for 4 hours. The only other person assigned there was Vanessa's elderly aunt, a woman named Marjorie who arrived 2 hours late in a wheelchair pushed by a caregiver. She was kind, confused about where she was, and spent most of the meal dozing in her chair. I made small talk with the caregiver, a young woman named Rosa who looked as uncomfortable as I felt. We were the forgotten ones, the people who didn't fit into Vanessa's vision of a perfect Thanksgiving. Around me, the party hummed with conversation and laughter. Michael worked the room like a politician, shaking hands, toasting his investors, laughing with Vanessa's father, a tall man with silver hair who kept clapping Michael on the back like they were old friends. Michael moved from table to table, spending 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, making sure everyone felt seen and valued. Everyone except me. I tried to tell myself it was a misunderstanding, a seating mistake. Maybe Vanessa had run out of room and panicked. Maybe Michael didn't know where I'd been placed. I kept waiting for him to come over, to apologize, to pull up a chair and sit with me for a few minutes. But he never did. Not once in 4 hours. When dessert was served, store-bought pies on the main tables, sliced and plated with whipped cream from a can, I saw Linda's pecan pie sitting untouched on the counter. No one had even taken it out of the dish. It sat there, still warm under the towel, invisible, just like me. I started digging. I pulled out the contracts we'd signed when I invested, the partnership agreement his lawyer had drafted on thick paper with tiny print. I'd trusted Michael, so I hadn't read it carefully at the time. I'd skimmed it, signed where he told me to sign, believed him when he explained it was standard investor language. Now I read every word, slowly, carefully, with a sick feeling growing in my stomach. The terms were worse than I'd remembered. My $340,000 had been classified as a gift loan rather than equity. I wasn't a partner. I wasn't even a proper investor. I was a lender who'd given my son money with no collateral, no security, no guarantee. I had no voting rights, no board seat, no claim to profits, no say in how the company was run. And if the company dissolved, I was last in line for repayment, behind creditors, behind investors, behind Michael himself. Even if the company succeeded and sold for millions, I'd be entitled to nothing beyond the original loan amount if I got paid back at all. I'd been played. My own son had taken my life savings and structured the deal so I'd have no power, no protection, no recourse. I sat at my kitchen table that night, the same table where Michael had presented his business plan, and I felt something I'd never felt before. Not anger, not yet, just a deep, cold realization that I didn't know my son anymore, or maybe I'd never known him at all.
In his home office, surrounded by framed awards and photos of Vanessa, he finally said it. The office was pristine, all dark wood and leather. His desk faced a window overlooking the golf course. Everything about the room screamed success. Everything except what he was about to tell me. "Dad, you're not listed as an investor anymore. The company restructured last year. Your contribution was reclassified." He said it like he was reading from a script, like he'd practiced this conversation. "Reclassified as what?" I asked, though I already knew. "A gift." The word hung between us. A gift. $340,000 of my retirement, my home equity, my future security. A gift? I stared at him. "You took my life savings and called it a gift?" He looked away, out the window at the perfect green lawn. "You'll get paid back eventually, but right now we need liquidity. Vanessa and I have expenses, the house, the cars, the lifestyle we need to maintain to keep clients confident. It's all part of the business."
I hired an attorney in January. Her name was Sharon Kellerman, a no-nonsense litigator in her 50s who specialized in family business disputes. Her office was in a modest building downtown, nothing fancy, just clean and professional. She had a wall of law books and a desk piled with case files. When I called to make the appointment, her assistant asked what kind of case it was. I said, "My son stole my retirement." There was a long pause. Then, "Sharon will want to meet with you." I showed her everything, the investment documents, the emails, the restructuring paperwork Michael's lawyer had filed without my knowledge or signature. Sharon read through it all carefully, making notes, her face neutral, but her pen moving fast. After 40 minutes, she looked up. "This is elder financial abuse." Mediation took place in July, in a bland conference room in an office building downtown. Beige walls, a long table, water bottles and notepads. Michael sat across from me with his lawyer and Vanessa. She looked like she wanted to be anywhere else, her arms crossed, her expression tight. Michael wouldn't look at me. He stared at his hands, at the table, at the wall, anywhere but my face. The mediator was a retired judge, a man named Thomas Chen, who'd seen every kind of family dispute over his 30-year career. He was patient, calm, good at getting people to talk. He asked Michael to explain his side first. Michael talked about risk, about how starting a business was a gamble, about how I should have known there were no guarantees. He said the contract was clear. He said he'd always intended to pay me back eventually when the company was more stable. He said I was being vindictive. He said I was trying to destroy him out of jealousy or bitterness or disappointment. "My father can't accept that I've succeeded," he said, his voice rising. "He can't accept that I've built something bigger than he ever did." The mediator let him finish, then turned to me. "Robert, would you like to respond?" I kept my voice steady, calm, reflective. "I gave my son everything I had because I loved him. I refinanced my house. I cashed in savings bonds my wife and I had spent decades building. I believed in him. I believed in his dream. He repaid me by seating me at a folding table at Thanksgiving and pretending I didn't matter. He restructured his company to erase my stake without telling me. He paid himself hundreds of thousands of dollars while telling me he couldn't afford to pay back a single penny. This isn't about jealousy. This isn't about his success. It's about betrayal. It's about him treating me like I was worthless after I gave him everything." The settlement was finalized in early September. Michael's lawyer sent the check by courier, $340,000, issued from the company account, made out to Robert James Harrington, my full name, printed in neat computer font. I deposited it at my bank, watching the teller's eyes widen when she saw the amount. I paid Sharon's fees, which came to $42,000 for 8 months of work.
Then I took what was left, $298,000, and put it into a trust I'd set up in Linda's name. The trust was simple. The money would be managed by a bank, invested conservatively, and the proceeds would fund a scholarship at the local community college for first-generation college students studying business. Kids like Michael had been. Kids with ambition but no money. Kids who needed someone to believe in them. The scholarship would be awarded every year. It would help 2 students cover tuition, books, and living expenses. It would give them a chance. Michael would never see a dime of it.
Thanksgiving this year, I cooked for myself. Turkey breast, just enough for one person. Mashed potatoes from a box, green beans, and Linda's pecan pie, made from her recipe, the one I'd carried to Michael's house last year. I set the table in my small dining room. Just one place, one plate, one chair. No folding table, no paper number tent, no crystal or calligraphy or champagne flutes. Just me and the quiet. It was lonely. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't. But it was mine. I ate slowly, tasting each bite, thinking about the years that had led here, thinking about the choices we make and the prices we pay, thinking about Linda and what she would have said if she'd been here to see all this. Michael sent a card this year. It arrived 2 days before Thanksgiving. A simple card with a picture of autumn leaves on the front. Inside, in his handwriting, it said, "Thinking of you, M." No apology, no invitation, no attempt to rebuild what we'd lost, just acknowledgement that I existed. I didn't throw it away. I didn't frame it either. I set it on the mantel next to Linda's photo, next to the scholarship fund paperwork, next to the settlement documents I'd kept in a folder marked closed. I looked at it for a long time, that card with its 3 words and single initial. Then I moved on. Now I sit where I choose, at my own table, in my own house, with my own rules. I eat alone sometimes, yes, but I eat with dignity. I eat knowing that I stood up for myself when it mattered most. I eat knowing that Linda would be proud. And maybe, someday, Michael will understand that. Maybe he'll look back on table 12 and realize what he lost. Maybe he'll see that the money wasn't the point. It never was. The point was how he treated me. The point was the choice he made to value appearance and wealth over the man who'd given him everything. Or maybe he won't. Maybe he'll tell himself I was the problem, that I was jealous or bitter or unable to accept his success. Maybe he'll sleep well at night in his big house with his expensive furniture and his perfect wife, convinced that he did nothing wrong. Either way, I'm at peace. That's what this year has taught me. Peace doesn't come from winning or losing. It doesn't come from money or apologies or cards with 3 words on them. Peace comes from knowing you stood up for yourself, from knowing you didn't accept disrespect just because it came from someone you love, from knowing that you chose dignity over obligation, truth over convenience. Table 12 was the worst moment of my life, but it was also the moment I started choosing myself, and that, in the end, was worth more than $340,000.